want is right here. We gon' give them what they came for. We gon' take it up from last year. Shoot on my shot, boy, I'm long range. Me and the team on the same thing. Stayed down, never switched up. Only thing changed was the game. I'm in the zone now. Nothing can change what we on now. When I pull up, know it's going down. Foot on the gas, ain't no slowing down. Aiming for greatness, no settling. Kick down the doors, they won't let me in. Taking no else, yeah, I gotta win. Watch me kick down the doors, they won't let me in. Who running the game now? Foot on the gas, can slow down. No, my team, we holding it down. We know we running it now. Watch the game change. Watch the game change. Watch the game change. Watch the game change.
Welcome to another edition of the It's Cavalier podcast. It's your boy, Mac. And tonight, our Cleveland Cavaliers took on the Houston Rockets in a game that I think a lot of people had circled on their calendars to be one of the bigger ones on this schedule. Obviously, entering this season, no one thought that the Cavaliers would be down Darius, Garland. Nobody thought that they would be suffering some of these other injuries. But damn it, that was not an excuse. I'm not here to sit up here and make excuses about who is and who isn't out there. Tonight was a perfectly winnable game for this Cavaliers bunch, and they did themselves no favors. Listen, all credit due where it is to the Houston Rockets, who came in to Rocket Arena and by all accounts played a pretty damn solid game, scored 114 points tonight. And listen, it's not as if they were just absolute killers out there tonight. They shot 45.6% from the field, including 37.5% from three-point distance. They hit 9 triples, and they hit below 46% of their field goals, right? Nobody was absolutely massacring the Cavaliers, all right? Kevin Durant, Alfred Sengun, yeah, they had pretty solid games in terms of the point totals, and in the case of Sengun, he was very efficient out there, but I never truly felt as if this game was in danger. The Cavaliers were in danger of being absolutely obliterated in this game, even when they went down by, 20 plus. And it felt like that, I'm sure, too many fans out there, as Houston led by as many as 22. But in watching this team tonight, even playing some of the most inefficient basketball that we have seen them play this year, they still had a chance to win this. And there was one primary culprit. And as you're looking at the graphic on the screen, you already know what it is. I'm going to talk about it in just a second. But just a quick reminder, the Cavaliers as a team shot 44.4% from the field and 30.8% from deep themselves. They took 39 triples tonight, not an absurd amount like they have been taken to begin the season. But the one killer for this team, remains the free throws. Tonight was yet another night in which free throws made all the difference, in my opinion. Yes, I understand that Houston knocked down the shots when they needed to. I understand that they got to the boards and a ton of second chance opportunities. I'll talk about that in just a moment. But the Cavaliers left 12 points off the board tonight. The score was 114-104. Do the math. Do the fucking math. 12 points off the board because you could not knock down 12 free throws. 62.5%. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe that this was the 6th or 7th game of the season in which the Cavaliers shot 70% or below from the charity stripe. I'm going to do it right now. Do the math right now as we speak. We're sitting here looking at 1, 2, 3. We got 4, 5. Yeah, this is like the 6th game of the season in which they have failed to knock down at least 70% of their free throws. I'm not going to sit up here and act like that was the only problem, because frankly, it was not. I was really, really upset that the offensive rebounding was as bad as it was to begin the game. I mean, literally, Houston got off to a 5-0 start and were really helped out by Steven Adams early on the offensive glass. He had 3 offensive rebounds in the first 2 minutes of this game. Houston had 5 or either 5 or 6 overall in the first quarter alone. These dudes had way too many second chance opportunities, and it was absolutely ridiculous. And they would end up just destroying the Cavaliers in that regard. But even with that being the case, it never truly felt as if this game was out of reach. The Cavaliers just could not knock down shots, and they could not knock down their free throws. Now, overall, to that point, they outscored Cleveland 21-6. in terms of second chance points. So many opportunities that they managed to generate out there. They won the rebounding battle, according to NBA.com, 60-51. And in terms of the offensive rebounds themselves, Steven Adams had 6, Jabari Smith Jr., Alfaron Şengün had 2 apiece, Amen Thompson had 3, Reed Shepard, Josh Okogie, Clint Capella, they all pulled down a singular offensive rebound. The second chance opportunities were just destroying Cleveland. They had 16 offensive rebounds total to Cleveland's 10. That cannot happen. You cannot give teams additional opportunities, especially when you are not faring well in terms of not only shooting from the field, but shooting from the charity stripe. And the worst part about it, especially in that first half, was that it wasn't just the perimeter shots that they were missing. There were a ton of shots at the rim that were either rimming out or they just got bad angles. It was not something that you want to see happen on a night-to-night basis. I hate the fact that this team has become over-reliant on the triple, but at the same time, like even when you're attempting to attack the interior of this defense or of the opposition's defense, it still isn't working because shots are not falling. It was one of those nights, obviously, when the team failed to knock down the shots. And there were a couple of bright spots. I'll mention those in just a bit. But in a night where you cannot get it going from the field, you absolutely need to knock down the free ones, right? You got to knock down your shots from the charity stripe. As I already mentioned, the margin of this game was 10. They missed 12 free throws. It's got to be better than that. It's got to be better than that. I don't know what you're going to do. I don't know how you approach that. I don't know what the solve is. But Mobley shot 4 of 10 from the free throw line. Naquon Tomlin, he was a bright spot. He shot 2 of 4, right? Dean Wade, 1 of 4. Some pretty key free throws between Mobley and Wade tonight were missed. I hate that. I hate that this continues to be a consistent theme for this team. And I understand that Max Strus, Darius Garland, Sam Merrill, who was rolled out before this game, started that. Those are all big losses. Jalen Tyson still not on the court with the concussion. I understand these are all good free throw shooters. But to me, like, it extends beyond them. Mobley's been struggling all year in that area. Donovan Mitchell hasn't necessarily been the most efficient, although the percentages may say otherwise. It's got to be better. I really don't know what else to make of this game, right? Obviously, it was a tough watch in that first half as Donovan Mitchell would end up scoring just 2 points in the first. I want to say Don scored like 2 points in the first 3 quarters. I mean, literally, I'm at a point right now where I'm flabbergasted, obviously, with the free throw disparity. But Donovan Mitchell himself, man, he had a really rough game up until that fourth quarter where he went 7 of 10 from the field, 7 to 10 from the field, if I'm not mistaken, in the fourth quarter alone. Didn't score at all in that third. Put up 2 points in the first half on 1 of 7 shooting, and then saved his best for last in the fourth, pulling them very close to Houston. But every single time Cleveland would manage to go on some type of run, and they had one in the third, right? When I talk about bright spots, Craig Porter Jr. was a bright spot. I feel like he came to play at points tonight when he was inserted. He was a -3, but to me, I mean, 9 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 blocks, 4 of 6 from the field, 1 of 2 from the 3-point line. Craig was a ball of energy out there. He was a bundle of energy out there, and I think that he was a big reason why they were able to swing this game, the pendulum of the momentum back in the Cavs' direction. But ultimately, it was not to be. There were a lot of things that ended up being self-inflicted free throws among them. But Craig, man, he was giving it his all out there. There was a couple of sequences where I was really, really impressed with what he was able to bring to the table tonight and trying to settle this team back down when the shots just weren't falling, when Donovan Mitchell just doesn't have it going, when Evan Mobley is taking far too long to to get into his spots, right? And that was nice to see, right? There were certain points tonight where I felt like DeAndre Hunter really started to up the activity out there on his way to 25 points on 6 of 11 from the field, but it was for naught. One of the bigger things to me that I take away from this game is Naquon Tomlin. Now, it was a very unorthodox lineup, obviously, to begin this one. Donovan Mitchell at the point. We're all accustomed to that by now. Jarrett Allen, Evan Mobley, DeAndre Hunter rounding out the front court. But lo and behold, in the place of Sam Merrill, it's Naquon Tomlin. Naquon Tomlin drew the start at the 2 tonight. That was pretty cool to see. And there were a couple of sequences where, like, oh, man, this three-point shot has got to fall eventually, as he went 0 of 5 from three-point distance tonight. And I want to say that he entered tonight 2 of 18 from three-point range on the career, right? On his career. But at this point in time, Tomlin is out there making an impact, scoring points, and being a very active participant in games without even knocking down the shot. I mean, he entered tonight as a career 11.1% shooter from three-point distance. And as I mentioned before, right, just 2 of 18 in his career. He missed 5 more tonight. That brings his total to 2 of 23, which is even more, it's worse. It is obviously a lot worse, but even when he is not knocking down that shot, this dude is out there making shit happen. One of my favorite sequences from this entire game was when Tomlin missed the triple and pulled down his own rebound, right? He crashes the glass for one, and then he goes up and he yams it. That was beautiful to see. That was one of my favorite sequences of the game. And I know that there will be games where he gets played off the court because of the lack of spacing, because there are already enough players on this roster that suffer from that issue at times, Dean Wade being one of them. But it's refreshing to see a player just antagonize a defense with his energy out there. It's beautiful to see, and it gives me a lot of hope for the future of this front court. Now, obviously, the Cavaliers will have some decisions to make come this upcoming trade deadline. Do they move Dean Wade? Do they allow him to walk after this upcoming playoff run? Hopefully, we see that the Cavaliers have success, but no matter the outcome of that, there's a huge decision to be made in regard to Wade and whether or not they feel confident enough moving on from him. And to me, I think if you let Dean walk, and this is not me advocating for this to be the case, because we still got a whole season to play, still got a whole playoffs to go through. If you end up letting Dean walk, it does make you feel good that Tomlin is a player that you can go to in those minutes, who has that versatility out there. But we shall see. We shall see. I don't know. And that was one of the few bright spots from tonight's game. I thought that there were a lot of negatives, obviously, and I could spend my time talking about them, and I've already mentioned a couple of them. The free throws were obviously the biggest. The second chance opportunities that they continue to allow Houston to get were another. But I don't know if it would really be beneficial for me to do that at this point in time, right? I'm not feeding into it. Something that I thought was pretty telling tonight was the the play of Jarrett Allen. I thought that we have been screaming entering these last couple of games for Jarrett Allen to get more minutes with the closing lineups, get more minutes in the fourth quarter, as that has been trending downward the last 3 seasons, right? Down to 4.4 minutes per game. Coming into tonight in fourth quarters, though it is by far the lowest I think that it's been since he's come to Cleveland. And tonight felt like he played more. He would finish tonight with 28 points. Not 28 points, 28 minutes and 16 seconds of action, 8 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, a steal, and was 4 of 9 from the field in that time. But I did legitimately like some of the things that I saw out of Allen out there too when they decided to get him the ball. One of the best was when he absolutely got, and I know it was called for an offensive foul, but he absolutely jammed it home on Alperen Sengun. And I hated that, obviously, but being objective, I can understand why they did it. And then there was another where he gets his own miss, if I'm not mistaken, on the offensive glass and throws it down on the opposite end of the court. That was pretty damn awesome. And so I was glad to see Jarrett Allen get some fourth quarter run because that just has not been something that we have seen over the last couple of games or really the season as a whole. And I understand that he will always have his detractors. I understand that there are always people out there that just want to move on from Jarrett Allen or think he's soft or just thinks he's clogging up the paint, any number of things out there. But there are reasons why this team keeps holding on to Jarrett Allen. And one way or another, it's going to play out and be a huge talking point entering the playoffs. Because if the Cavaliers end up flaming out again, there's going to be substantial changes. And I have no doubt in my mind that Jarrett Allen is probably going to be at the forefront of that. But we're so far out from that, I'm not going to worry about it. We got to wait for the playoffs to play out. But it was nice to see him get some fourth quarter run tonight, juxtaposed to what it has been these last couple of games. Mobley's night was rather up and down. There were definitely opportunities for him. I felt if he would have called for the ball a little bit more, and he was the Cavaliers' second overall leader in field goal attempts tonight. But I don't know, man. I was really disappointed in the game we got from Evan tonight. And this has honestly been one of the more disappointing starts to the season that we have seen from him. I know that there was a huge leap that was expected for him. And I think that you have seen some improvements, obviously. But one of the things that has really been irritating me has been the free throws. I understand you want to force feed him self-creation. I understand that you want to get him comfortable with handling the rock. And there was a couple of sequences tonight where it was legitimately beautiful when he was handling the basketball. There was one in particular where he goes behind the back and spins around and gets the rim, dishes it off to Donovan Mitchell around the rim. And it didn't result in points or anything like that. But that is an improvement within itself. But at the same time, like there are so many other things that are not going well right now for Mobley that it's making me upset a little bit because he's been not only has he been inconsistent, but he honestly looks like he's in his head a little bit with what he is supposed to be doing out there. And I know Kenny Atkinson has to do a better job at actually utilizing him because it often seems like Mobley is just there is no real role for him. You know what I mean? It just kind of seems like they're winging it with Mobley and his touches and his abilities to create offense out there. And yeah, that is a Kenny Atkinson thing, but it's also on Mobley too. It's a tandem type of thing. And I know the loss of Jordan Ott kind of figures in here too, because he was such a huge piece of getting Mobley developed last year, having him take that leap. At least on the offensive end, because we already know what he can do on defense. But at some point, something's got to give. And I know that when Darius Garland returns, which should be soon, it's been reported that he's pretty close. I know that when Max Strus returns, that's a big underrated part of the Cavaliers' offensive flow in sets out there, especially in the DHO and pick and roll sets out there, because Max and Darius are huge pieces, two key pieces, and one of the elements that's been missing from this offense, and that's big to big passing. I don't know how many times that we have seen those two guys play off of one or both of the bigs, ending up resulting in all three or four being involved on one possession because the ball is moving around, whether that be a Strus DHO from Jarrett Allen, who cuts to the basket, and Strus or Darius hits him out of the short roll, and what gets the ball to him, and they hit Mobley or conversely Allen out of the short roll on a lob at the rim or a cut to the basket, something of that nature. There's just a lot of moving pieces and components of this offense that feels missing because of the personnel, but still, it's not necessarily an excuse. It's not necessarily an excuse. You got to do better. You got to be better. And I honestly don't know, because it feels like the Cavaliers, because they entered tonight second in the East. Thank God they're in the East right now, because the West is a gauntlet. At least it feels that way. And they're it feels like they're sleepwalking and just kind of going through the motions at this point. And I'm trying not to overreact because it is one game, and I know that is the most cliche thing, and people hate that, but it is starting to get to a point where like this whole thing is starting to happen too frequently. Like the free throw issue, this is happening way too frequently. 5 or 6 games already where they've shot below 70% from the charity stripe. That should not be the case. Way too many games in which the opponent out-rebounds them overall or on the offensive glass, leading to a ton of additional shot opportunities for said team. Way too many games in which they overdo it in terms of three-point opportunities. And listen, I get it. When you look at the technical aspects of why that is occurring, I understand fully that a lot of that has to do with a lack of true dribble penetration because you don't have Darius out there, because Max Strus is not involved, because you're down Sam Merrill and Jalen Tyson. And I get it, right? But still, you have to find creative ways around that. And it just seems like the habits have not been great. The effort level at times has not been great. When the things are just not going the Cavs' way, i.e., tonight, where the shot's not falling, I think that what you have seen is that they're capable of sparking a comeback. They're capable of going on a run. As if I'm not mistaken, they went on a 23-5 run to end the third quarter, which was big. That got them back into the game. And then Don, right? Don, after scoring 2 points in the first 3 quarters, comes into the fourth, knocks down back-to-back triples, and ended up scoring a substantial amount. He scored 19 of his 21 points, which is crazy to me. 19 of his 21 points in the fourth quarter. He stepped up, but it was far too little, too late. And when that happens, you have to have others pick you up. And I thought that guys like Craig Porter Jr. tried to do that. I thought Naquon Tomlin did. I thought that, I know Lonzo's going to get horrible flack for this game, but there were points even when Lonzo, right? He hits a couple of triples that really managed to spark that third quarter run. And I don't know, man. It just felt like the process is not yielding the results that we wanted to. And I entered this season feeling like, yeah, this is a great opportunity for development. This is a great opportunity for evaluation. But I'm not going to be like sitting up here and acting like it's all the reasons why they're struggling is because they're experimenting, because that's simply not the case. There are so many things that have felt like are in their control that they're not fixing, that it frankly, it makes you irritated. And I understand why people might be a little bit upset with this team, because they're clearly not playing up to their fullest capabilities. And again, I do take this early portion with somewhat of a grain of salt, because I do understand that you are down some very important personnel, and the team that you're seeing right now is not necessarily the team that you're going to see even next month in January, when hopefully Darius and Max are both back out there, and Sam is not missing time, and Jalen's back from his concussion. But it's still been a disappointing start in some aspects. It's not the end of the world. They are 10-6 at this point in time, but it should be better. They should be operating more efficiently and smoothly than they have been. And I think if this team, if they take anything away from tonight's loss, it's got to be, you got to lock every single one of these motherfuckers in the gym until they knock down like 100 free throws each. And you might be in there for a couple of days. Hell, you might miss a game just because you're practicing free throws. But if that's what it takes, listen, that's what it takes. It's just been such a bad thing. And I know this has been something that they have been trying to figure out for the last couple of seasons, but it just feels like it's gotten so much worse. So much worse. Time to hop into the chat. Rap God Reloaded says, salute. Floyd Phillips II says, 2 words, free throws. Said, hey, if you see the graphic on the screen, I literally have it up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. Make your free throws. I Hoop Carl says, lock them in the gym. I need 100 free throws straight from each player. Leaving that many points at the line is disappointing. It's discouraging. It's disappointing. It's disgusting. Throw whatever word you want to use, whatever adjective you want to use to describe that, because it's just bad. Let him know says, as a diehard Cavs fan, I personally invite you to live stream. I don't know. We'll see. D. Jackson says, we just didn't have it tonight, Mac. We couldn't hit free throws. We didn't shoot well at all. The Rockets just came to play. Listen, the Rockets came to Rocket Arena and made it theirs, right? This was their arena tonight. Literally, Rockets in the Rocket Arena. Jay Killer says, Zoe played like ass and was still the only positive plus minus on the court somehow. Quite honestly, I didn't think that he played great, but I also didn't think he was ass. I thought that during the third quarter, he actually was part of that spark alongside CPJ, and I'll just leave it at that. I don't, again, being totally objective in regard to that, this was not a great Lonzo game. I know I've been preaching a lot about Lonzo and my ability, not my ability, my belief that he will end up being a heavy playoff riser, but tonight wasn't his greatest performance. But I did think that he was key in saying, or he was key rather in that third quarter. That's where I'm at with that. Tomas Regula says, bad defense, very bad rebounding, all for free throws. Honestly, I didn't think the defense was all that terrible. But I certainly agree that the rebounding was pretty damn bad. And I guess you can lump in the inability to end possessions if you want to put those two and two together. Yeah, that's fine. I can definitely understand that. I hope Carl says letting Holiday go for 18 is nasty. Yeah. Jay Diaz says Mobley a disappointment this season. It's felt like that at points. Like there are good things, but there is some bad in there too that is making it really hard for me to believe that he'll essentially get into the bona fide top 10 player status. I still believe he's in that top 14. Hell, if you want to give him top 12 to 20 players, I understand that. But listen, he ain't looking like a top 10 player right now. And that's just me being 100% objective. Bandos Burner says fought hard, down some players. Speaking of fighting, listen, I can't not mention the fact that Naquon Tomlin looked like he was ready to swing out there on, what was it, Jabari Smith Jr.? He looked like he was about to throw hands out there. And that's the type of energy, the type of effort, the type of hustle that you want to see out there. Really, I mean, even if you don't boil it down to those things, it was just nice to see Tomlin show some emotion out there because they were not. There are oftentimes a lot of complaints about this team about not having a guy out there that is ready to, go to war, ready to be an enforcer. And I know that Thomas Bryant is one of these guys that you brought in that kind of looks the part in that regard. But Tomlin, seeing that sequence tonight, that was pretty damn awesome. Got up in his face, called him a bitch, I'm pretty sure. I'm not great at reading lips. My wife makes fun of me all the time because of that, but I'm pretty sure I could make out bitch in there somewhere. And it was pretty pronounced. And so that was pretty nice to see somebody show some emotion out there. Something that pissed me off was Şengün. This dude, like, he's literally flailing out there. And he entered the league like that. But he honestly should be called on a lot more fouls than he is. But I don't know. That's one of the things that pissed me off. But Tomlin being aggressive, showing emotion out there, that was pretty awesome to see. But we'll see. We'll see when it ends up, if he consistently brings that or if that was just a one-off moment. But honestly, when you see him, he's always showing emotion. Off of the dunks, off of some of the offensive rebounds, he's one of these guys that looks like he's wearing his heart on his sleeve, and he looks very passionate about what he does. And so I certainly appreciate that. Jay Diaz says Dean Wade is not a rotation player for a contending team. All I know at this point in time right now is that I have no fucking clue what the rotation is going to look like when it becomes healthy. I know that there are certain players that I can pencil in, and I know that there are others that are not so sure. As of right now, the players that I'm sure that will be in the playoff rotation is Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell, DeAndre Hunter, Evan Mobley, Jarrett Allen, Max Strus, Sam Merrill will be in there. That is 7 players already right there. I think that Lonzo Ball will be in the playoff rotation, assuming that he is healthy. That's 8 players. Jalen Tyson deserves to be in the playoff rotation, in my opinion. That is 9 players. That would be my 9-man rotation. But even in saying that, I completely understand the faults within that. There is no true backup big in that. You're asking Jalen Tyson to play backup 4 with one of Jarrett Allen or Evan Mobley always being on the floor. But past those 9 players, I honestly don't know, right? Because Thomas Bryant looks like he could be somebody that contributes playoff minutes depending upon the matchup. Dean Wade is somebody, contrary to popular belief, if you're not operating with a true backup big, you're probably going to want to play Dean at least 10 minutes in the playoffs, especially against these teams that have elite wings. Because Dean, if you don't like him for whatever else he does, he is still a pretty damn good defender of wings. You got to give him that. The 3-point shot, it's hit and miss. The confidence issues, it's been there for as long as he's been in the NBA. But the one thing that he does bring to the table is quality wing defense. And that alone might earn him that 10th man role. And so it's still just such a hard thing to forecast, because not only do you not know what's going on with Larry Nance Jr. or if he'll be in the rotation at all past these past these first couple of weeks of the season, but you got the emergence of Naquon Tomlin, who will have to be converted from a two-way to a standard contract before he is even playoff eligible to even be considered to be in the rotation. And Craig Porter Jr. has been a player that has played like he deserves to be in the rotation. But when you have Donovan, when you have Darius, when you have Lonzo, when you got Sam, when you got Max, I don't know how you find playoff minutes for CPJ unless Lonzo's just absolutely struggling or is not healthy. So it's a toss-up. And that's not me saying at all that I don't think Craig deserves to be there. But when you're talking about the depth in that guard rotation, that's really where some tough decisions are going to have to be made. But it makes me feel good to know that you have that to turn to if you need to. And I think that's a great thing to have, and from a depth perspective. And that's about all I can say in regard to in regard to that. All I know at this point in time is that this team has to do better. Darwin Morgan says it's the hope that kills you. Yeah, but that's part of fandom, right? I'm not gonna I do this, but I don't like to do it. And it happens at times. I know I judge people for how they fan at times. I know I got to get better at that, but part of being a fan, at least in my version of being a fan, is hope, is positivity and hoping for the best. But that's me. That's how I fan. I don't know how you guys do. If Life Supposed says the Cavs keep making me say to other teams, now how did they get that rebound? Yeah, it certainly feels like it at times. Like there are some rebounds that guys get, especially on the offensive glass, where it's like, oh my God, just crash the fucking boards, right? Get in there, end a possession. But no, man, you end up seeing this team surrender rebounds to the opposition on the offensive glass way too frequently. And as I mentioned, they scored 21 second chance points tonight. They pulled down 16 offensive rebounds. It is what it is. Cavs aren't at full strength right now. I always have that as a caveat in the back of my mind, but at the same time, like, this is a very winnable game. So I'm not giving him the injury excuse tonight. I'm not giving him the fact that Darius is being missed. I'm not giving him the fact that Sam Merrill is missed, or Jalen or Max or whoever else you want to mention, right? This is a winnable game, even when they shot shitty as hell from the field. You knock down your free throws, and it's a very different outcome, in my opinion. And that's really my biggest takeaway from this one, outside of the small bright spots that I already mentioned. It was nice to see Tomlin do his thing. It was nice to see Craig put on another good performance. I'm not going to sit here and beat a dead horse. So I'm going to continue to do the chat real quick, and then we're going to get out of here. And that's probably a good place to put it. D Jackson, H1K says the bench plays better than the starters. I keep saying that. I don't necessarily think that they play better. I just think that they show more effort. And I understand how that can be misconstrued. But I mean, there are certain sequences where you're like, you've got to show more fucking hustle out there. You've got to show more effort out there. You got to show more intensity and passion in your craft and what you're doing. I understand it's the regular season. I understand a lot of people have this mindset that the regular season doesn't matter, but don't you step your ass out on that court and provide credence to that. No, man, give more effort, because Naquon Tomlin is surely going to be passionate about what he does out there. Craig Porter Jr. is certainly going to give it his all, right? Thomas Bryant, when this dude's in there, he's going to be intense. So while I don't necessarily believe that the bench has been better than the starters, they've shown more effort at times. And that's disheartening, because you want your starters to be the players that are setting the tone, setting the pace out there. It's got to be better. I don't know, man. I don't know. I hope that the habits improve. I hope the process this whole thing that we're going through right here, it has to lead to something. And they're clearly not playing their best basketball, but I know that their ceiling is higher than what they're showing right now. The floor just, I don't know. I don't even know what to make of it. It's really hard to take something and form a definitive opinion on this team one way or another, but there are certain things that kind of stand out, and effort is definitely one of them. But I suppose that's a great place to end it tonight. As I always tell you guys, if you like to reach out to me, you know how you can. It's Cavalier_pod on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and more. If you want to be added to the Cavalier Discord chat, you know what to do. Leave a rating, leave a review, send a screenshot of said review to itscavalier53@gmail.com, and I will send you said invite. If you want to support the pod in a small but helpful way, consider becoming a member over on Patreon. You can do it on YouTube too for as little as $1 a month. You never know how much supporting your favorite content creators helps continue to make that content. But even if you don't, your boy will still be here because I love this team. And I know you guys do too. With that being the case, go Cavs.